being a great presenter changes your life. It changes the lives of people around you. But imagine if you're at a corporation, if you're watching this and you go to work tomorrow, and somebody's really boring. If you went to my SteveSapatoSeminars.com, it says stop boring speakers. Imagine how your whole company would change if they would just send all of the people who have to give presentations to instructions on how to not be boring, right? And a lot of people say, well, Steve, you don't understand, all my material is boring. I go, no, the material is dry. You're boring.
Here it is, that moment you've all been waiting for. We all have gifts to give to the world. Do you know what yours are? Are you ready to make so much money you don't know what to do with it? Are you ready to have the best relationships with the ones closest to you? Hold on tight, because you're tuned in to Momentum Media's Success Talk with your favorite host, Ryan Durden.
So first and foremost, I want to introduce my audience to you. This is Steve Sapato. Did I say that right?
Sapato, right?
Sapato. And he is an expert speaker. He is an expert in happiness, personal development, leadership, and communication. He's the CEO of SpeakerTalks. So let's start off with that. Let's start off with SpeakerTalks. What is that, and what do you guys do?
SpeakerTalks, we're the alternative to TEDx. We're the ones that you can actually get on stage with. So I put together this platform a couple of years ago that was all about helping people get on a stage to be able to speak their own truth, their own message. For speakers, it's to get a professional video, what we call a sizzle reel, so that you can actually take this and give it, put it out to the people who want to hire you. They want to see whether you can perform in front of somebody. They want to see how you perform in front of a live audience. So that's the reason SpeakerTalks started. And then we had people come on board who said, but I'm not a speaker, but I got a message I want to share. So like authors might be the perfect example for that. So we teach people how to get on a stage, become the experts in their field, so people want to hire the experts. That's what we are in SpeakerTalks.
Nice. That's amazing. And so let's go with money. I know there's a lot of money involved. I like to talk about money. So I saw on your website, you charge $10,000 to be a keynote speaker at events.
Yep. That's right.
Where would you say somebody just starting out speaking, where should they have their price at?
That's really a difficult piece to work with. When we do SpeakerTalks, we also do 2 days. It's a 2-day event. We do 2 days worth of speaker training. Mm-hmm. Part of that is how much do I charge? When do I start to charge? So if you're the expert in a field, so if you've got everything in line, if you've got a website that really shows that you're the professional, because I was just met with somebody who's been speaking for a year, but his website doesn't demonstrate anything about his skills or acumen. It doesn't say what he focuses on, what he teaches about. Why should anybody even hire him? Mm-hmm. So all of the stuff that make you a viable speaker have to be addressed. So little things, I say little things, but it's the website has to be a professional website. You have to have video on there so people can all see it. They show you in all kinds of different places speaking. Your experience counts. Your video. So your professional speaker reel has to be available so that you can send it to them. Mm-hmm. You have to have your one sheet in place. I mean, there's so many little things that you have to work with before you actually say, I can really start charging. Mm-hmm. I will tell you this, that unless you're charging $10,000, the big boys aren't going to pay any attention to you. If you're charging $5,000, you'll get into a few places to get gigs. But for the most part, if you're talking to a corporation, they're willing to pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a speaker a lot of times, providing you have the skills to carry it off. For the newer people, we say, go out and get your experience. Talk to the Knights of Columbus. Speak in front of all the other groups that are free. Mm-hmm. Put in your 6 months worth of time so that you meet the failure. So right. When you get in front of a group and you bomb horribly, right? How do you react to that? Does it drive you away? Can you do this? I like to use the improv theater comedy as an example. If you had to get up in front of an audience and do comedy right now, you'd probably say, oh, that'd be hard. Right. Imagine standing in front of 20, 30, 40 people or 5 and absolutely bombing with your comedy. Would you go up and try it again next week? Or would you say, I'm out. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that again. It was painful. And
Mhm.
that's the same with speaking. If we share that you're going to bomb, everybody bombs. Some of the best speakers in the world have bombed in front of thousands. And you're like, oh man, that was a bad night. And
Yeah.
you go do it again. So
Yeah.
speaking, the fees start off. I mean, I always say, matter of fact, just a couple months ago, I put out a thing on LinkedIn that said, we'll speak for food.
That's funny.
Because that's where I started. When I
Right.
started, it was, hey, we'll give you dinner if you come and speak in front of our organization.
Mhm.
And you did, because you love speaking. So go out and speak for food, go out and speak for the morsels. And after 3 to 6 months of a lot of speaking, you might be ready to charge somebody because your expertise might be ready.
Mm.
You could be the most knowledgeable I taught college for 7 years, and it was always amazing to me, especially at the junior college level. Anybody with a master's degree could teach any course. It didn't have to be an engineering course. If I was an engineer, you could teach. So I had these master's degree people teaching basic speech courses, and they knew nothing about speech.
Right.
So with that in mind, if you don't have your topic down, people see through it.
Right.
And the students would see through the fact that this engineer had no idea how to teach speaking. So they would rebel and go to the dean of students. And then the dean would call me up and say, can you pick up a class? I go, sure.
Yeah.
And that's the same with speaking. If your expertise says you can start off charging $1,500 to $2,500,
Mhm.
right? Start getting your feet wet. I remember I was getting paid about $4,000 per talk back in the Midwest. And somebody from my hometown called me up and said, hey, Steve, I would love to have you come speak at this event. We're going to be doing this. I went, cool, I'd love to speak. He said, how much will you charge? And I went, I probably should give him a break, seeing it's my hometown. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a break, and I'm just going to do it for $1,000. And the guy went, $1,000? Are you nuts? Who do you think you are?
It's the audience. He thought it was too much, huh?
Yeah. Oh, he thought it was just crazy money, and I was getting paid bigger money to go lots of other places. But
Right.
you won't always be appreciated where you are. So the money is tough to decide. But figure you're not going to be anybody until you're charging $5,000.
Okay. And then, Steve, how long have you actually been speaking publicly? I mean,
45 years.
45 years? Getting paid to speak?
Yeah.
45 years?
Well, if you count the first year that I spoke for food.
And how did you start off? Like, I know you spoke for food, but did you go out to like universities and things like that, or public schools, or how did you get your feet wet?
Actually, going to universities or schools and that kind of stuff, those are hard markets to get into, because those people demand and expect certain rigorous standards, and they usually don't pay where the poo. But I was working at IBM. I was a salesman at IBM, and my mother called me up one day. I'm 25 years old, and she says, hey, my speaker canceled for tonight. I went, wow, that's a shame, Mom. Sorry. And she went, I need a speaker. I went, Mom, I don't know any speakers. And she went, no, you don't understand. You're the speaker.
Wow.
And I went, no, right? I'm not the speaker. And then, you can't say no to your mom.
Right.
So she bought dinner, and I did a 20-minute talk in front of her ladies group that night. Wow. And it just kept going like that. And I spoke for free for probably about 5 or 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then somebody offered to pay me. Hey, we'll pay you $100 to show up. I went, $100? We still feed me?
Right. Nice.
And it kept growing, and then eventually you have to say, hey, and I'll be honest with you, when somebody says now we'll pay you $5,000 or we'll pay you $10,000 or we're going to pay you, you're like, wow, that's a lot of money just to spend an hour. Now, I say just to spend an hour, but if you're doing a keynote, you should spend at least a month preparing a keynote talk to speak in front of a major corporation. Right. So if you're getting paid that $10,000 fee, you really have to earn it by knowing their company, knowing what they stand for, knowing what they want you to speak on, knowing what you want to accomplish, going the night before if they've got a cocktail dinner or something, and meeting some of the important players there so that you can get a feel for what they're looking for. So you earn your money.
They give you time to prepare for the speech. They give you about a month before.
Usually it's like 5 or 6 months, because first of all, you have to apply. So like, for instance, when we get done with SpeakerTalks this year, I'll be sending out 30 leads to paying speaking opportunities. A lot of places, a lot of gurus say, we'll give you speaking leads, and they're for free. You know, like, go speak to the Knights of Columbus. And it's like, really? I paid this much money to go talk and, you know, go listen to you talk, and then you give me Knights of Columbus to go speak at? So we pay for leads, and so therefore I take some of the leads that I've paid for. And what they are is places like, this is February. And what they are is places like in December and January and then February, they had a convention or they had an event. And we know that it comes across every year. So you go to those places now, apply for them now, submit your speaker reel now, and usually 3 or 4 months from now, they'll contact you if they're interested to say, hey, we want to talk to you. And then it's when the negotiation for how much you're going to charge starts.
Okay. And then somebody without a speaker's reel, and they can't land any gigs, right? What what do you recommend for those kind of people?
They got to come get on SpeakerTalks stage. What do you mean? That's what they got to do. Here's what you have to know is, would you pay somebody $5,000 or $10,000 sight unseen? No. You know,
it depends if I knew that person would add value to my company, then yeah. But how would I know without a speaker reel? Right?
That's right. Well, and you know, when you if you own a company and you were going to hire an employee, and let's say pay them $85,000, you would really do a vetting process. You'd want to know all about their background. You'd want to talk to them 2, 3, 4, 5 times to make sure that you understood that they were a right fit for your organization. You do a background check. You do all. Well, you can't do that on a speaker most of the time. So what they ask for you is a speaker reel that shows, you know, you in front of an audience, as well as several other things clipped to that. So it's a 2-3 minute video where it shows me speaking like this, but in the background it shows me talking at Kraft Foods, and over here I'm talking at this place, and over here I'm talking at that place. So the speaker reel is vital. My motto on the SpeakerTalks thing is, without a video, you're almost invisible. So imagine that you're applying for let's say even a $2,000 gig. If I'm applying for a $2,000 gig and you get Steve Sapato's professionally recorded speaker reel, and then you got Bob, who doesn't even have a speaker reel.
Right. They're gonna go.
Automatically, you're probably going to look harder at Steve Sapato.
Right.
And so those are the things. And what should they do? Record everything every time you speak. I don't care if you're speaking in front of your kid's grade school. Record it, because a 3-second clip of you talking there, you can patch into this other thing, because they want to see all the places you've been. So certainly record everything you do. Then as soon as you can, and I say never speak for free. Speak in lieu of, right? Never free. So somebody says, hey, can you speak for free? I go, I never speak for free. Now, if you really need me, if it's a charity or something, I might speak, and in lieu of the fee, you'll have to give me something else. And they go, like what? I go, well, you have to have me professionally recorded and videoed for me to give you my time at this event. Oh, wow. Well, then they might have a friend who does video. And so that guy comes in and for free to them, sets it all up, records me, and I get that 5-minute or 30-minute talk. But you have to have yourself recorded and then get the professional one done as soon as you can. Because if you're competing with people who've done professional reels, you aren't even in the ball game unless you've got one similar.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's all about preparation in the long run. It's who spent the most time preparing to do it. It's like any other job, right?
That's right.
You have to study it and apply it.
And you know, that's what most people don't understand, that speaking is a job. One of the things we do at SpeakerTalks is we spend time teaching you. I've got Paul Fink and Debbie Allen coming in, both professional speakers. One speaks on success, publishing, and speaking. The other one speaks on success for marketing, selling, and developing. And so they bring in that professional side, which is, this is how you build a business that's going to sustain. I had one guy the other day that swore he was so in demand. He was just absolutely buried with demands for his time. And I said, wow, that's phenomenal. He'd spoken 15 times in the last 6 months, which is amazing. And then I went, so how many of those have you been paid for? And he said, 1.
No, 1.
Well, then you're not in demand, because people just want you because you're free. Once you start charging $5,000, you watch those 15 drop off to 0. And so you have to have all of the tools, right, that make up a professional speaker.
Well, right now it sounds like he's like in preseason, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it.
And he's getting ready for the game. So
All hyped up, ready to go.
he's ready to go, and he already sees it in his mind, so he can't knock the guy.
That's right. That's right.
He's doing his thing. Cool. So tell me a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? Were you always you know a speaker? Did you know you were a speaker when you were in college, and just did you know that that was a talent that you had?
College? Did somebody go to college?
Or high school, or
No, I went to college. I don't remember much of it. That was the 60s, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. When my mom called me at the age of 25 was the first time I'd ever spoken, so to speak. I'd been in a band in high school, but somebody just asked me on an interview I just did about a half an hour ago. They said, tell us something about yourself that most people don't know. And that is, I'm an introvert. Now, you can't tell it by talking here, but if you walked me into a crowd of 100 people, like they said, Steve, we're all meeting here at this event, so there's 100 people going to be in there. Just go in and meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go, what's my purpose? They'd go, well, you're just going to meet people and then sit in on this meeting. And what you'd find is Steve sitting in the back of the room with a cup of coffee in his hand, kind of watching, because there's no reason for me to turn the switch to be on. See, if I'm the host, or if I can help the host, or if I can do this, if I can be of value and use, then I turn that switch to become this guy. But otherwise, I'm an introvert, and I'll sit in the back of the room and just veg out. I don't really like meeting people at all. So.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm kind of the same way. I like to stick to myself, but I have a message and I want it to be heard, obviously. And then I believe that people are honestly good people, and I think I try to get the best out of people, and that's my job.
So Ryan, think of it. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. When you have a reason to turn that switch and come on, then you'll turn it, right?
Right.
And it's so much fun when you get to turn that switch and you affect other people's lives. That's when you and I really come alive. I remember the first time somebody came up to me. I'd been speaking 5 years, and a guy came up to me and said, "Aren't you Steve Sapato?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you very much." And I'm just like, okay. And I had 5 years before, I had done a talk for this small manufacturing company. Long story short, he was sitting on a machine listening to me do an hour-long workshop on success and following your dreams. And you don't know what you're impacting. I mean, there were 12 guys sitting on, grease monkeys sitting on machines, and I was supposed to do this for them.
Right.
And so, you move on. You're like, wow, that was kind of a tough. You talk about bombing. You thought you bombed bad because what did those guys care about what you had to say about success?
Right.
And 5 years later, this guy looks me up and says, "You changed my life," because with that talk, I realized I always wanted to be a firefighter. And I started going to classes like within a month. And I just got hired on for the city of Moline as a firefighter. And I wanted to say thank you. And you're like, wow, what I do changes lives.
And you never know. You never know who you're going to affect. That's why you just got to keep it going. Even though if you think nobody's looking, somebody's looking. Somebody's looking.
That's
you might get like 3 or 4 likes, but you got 150 views. Somebody's paying attention.
That's right. And so Ryan, you're obviously your personality is such that when you fire that up, you've got the smile and you've got the handsome looks of a young guy. But yeah, you could obviously affect many lives with that wonderful spirit and growth, and that's what I'm really looking forward to watching you grow. That'll be cool.
I really appreciate that. That really means a lot, Steve. Thank you so much. So let's go back to your childhood. So your first job that you had, that it probably wasn't anything that you're doing today, right?
Oh no. I tell people all the time when I owned a sure I know what I owned, a real estate appraisal firm, and 2 of the real estate appraisers that I taught over a few years, one had a degree in horticulture and one had a degree in psychology. Very few of us, follow anything that we went to college for unless you're in a specific profession. So growing up, same kind of thing. I think like everybody else, you have these little jobs where you mow lawns and you sell seeds door to door. But my dad got me my first quote unquote real job that lasted all of a day because he fibbed to somebody and took me to a lawnmower repair place and said, "Hey, my son can work on lawnmowers. And so I'm there, and the guy says, okay, start on this one, work on the carburetor. And I don't even know what a carburetor is.
That's
And
funny.
so, I told the guy, and of course, then I had to, and he knows that he didn't have cell phone, so I had to go in the office and use the phone and call my dad, who probably hadn't even gotten home yet, to say, come back and pick me up. We messed up. But right after that, I went and found one of my true loves, which I went to work in retail, and I worked at Baskin Robbins for about a year and a half. And boy, do I love ice cream.
Baskin Robbins. So that was like your first job. You got your W-2 and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I was 15 years old working at Baskin Robbins, worked until I was about 16 and a half and 17. And then we played in a band every weekend. Our band played someplace. So we always made that little, $25, $30 extra on the weekends for playing in a band in those days.
What instrument do you play?
Rhythm guitar. Now, you say, do you play? None now. I let that go away 30, 40 years ago. I got 3. My wife always gives me grief. I got 3 guitars sitting in the living room and can't play a note. Can't
play anything, huh? Can't even jam if you wanted to.
I do Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road pretty well. So
that's funny. Cool. So where can my audience find you? You have a Facebook page, your Facebook group, website?
Matter of fact, if you want to go to Facebook and join the Engaging Speakers group, that's my little group that I love to work with to talk about more about actual speaking and let you guys post about speaking, any questions on speaking, the Engaging Speakers group on Facebook. But on any of the social media, if you look me up, I don't understand why people don't use their own names all the time. You find a lot of weird, go to Instagram and here's Banana Face 269. It's like, right. What does that mean, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always Steve Sapato, Sapato. You can find me anytime. Go to SpeakerTalks.com. Go to SteveSapatoSeminars.com. If you want to speak, certainly get on one of my stages. We typically are going to be meeting every March and August. If you want to get on stage and get a speaker reel. If you want to learn about speaking, you can come to our 2-day event, dirt cheap, to come and learn a whole ton about speaking. And of course, you can hire me, and I can be your speaking coach for 6 months and teach you a ton. But that's how you get a hold of me.
Yep, that's
Thanks for asking.
Awesome. So what your one message that you want to share and leave with my audience, just the one thing that you think is most important about speaking publicly or
being a great presenter changes your life. It changes the lives of people around you. But imagine if you're at a corporation, if you're watching this and you go to work tomorrow and somebody's really boring. If you went to my SteveSapatoSeminars.com, it says stop boring speakers. Imagine how your whole company would change if they would just send all of the people who have to give presentations to instructions on how to not be boring, right? And a lot of people say, well, Steve, you don't understand, all my material is boring. I go, no, the material is dry. You're boring,
right.
And that's what it is. Just learn how to work with it. But speaking does change lives. So being a great presenter changes lives, whether you're in front of the PTA, whether you're in front of the Knights of Columbus, whether you're in front of a room of 500 people. If you know how to present, you will change lives and it will change your life.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Steve. You've been an excellent guest. I definitely want to do some work with you. I'm going to, follow you some more and dig in deeper and see what I can learn. But again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for having you on my show.
My pleasure, and I appreciate it. And now, did you say how they're supposed to get a hold of you?
Oh, they can get a hold of me. All my stuff is going to be in the comments for the links. I'm going to put all your stuff in there for the comment in the comments.
When I forward this on, you have to tell us your stuff.
So you can find me RyanDurden.com. I have some books that I've written. I'm also available as a keynote speaker. My fee isn't as much, but he has a little bit more value.
$50 and a plate of spaghetti gets you, Ryan.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you can find me at RyanDurden.com. I interview, experts in their field, so you can find me. There's live interviews, podcasts, a bunch of experts, and we all like to share our message. So check us out.
Thanks, Ryan. This was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.